this is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Sammy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait,
the loudspeaker spoke up and said, did you hear that? Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up.
Wait, Sammy. Wait, Sammy. Wait, Sammy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Ground Zero coming to you live from FM News 101 KXL in Portland, Oregon. We're heard around the world, coast to coast, all over the planet by going to groundzeromedia.org or KXL.com. Click on the Listen Now, and you'll be able to check out what we're talking about online. And also we have a chat room where you also can participate in chat. But we'd like you to call in, too, 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL or 1-877-733-1011. Tonight on Ground Zero, we have a very special program, and it's going to be one of those shows, again, where you're going to be glued to your radio because, you know, after last night and what we discussed with regard to the possibility of these vortices forming, these little portals that may be forming in places like New Zealand and Australia, Norway, parts of the United States, and we talked with David Paulides about the possibility of people just disappearing, mostly children, in our nation's forests, and how the government's covering that up, and how it just seems to be the most amazing thing that when you do a FOIA request and they charge you all kinds of money for those FOIA requests, that they're covering up something. And we speculated a little bit on what it might be, and I have always been the type of person who, when you eliminate the logical, you have to go to an even more, I guess you could say, outrageous idea. And I have been following the theory or the latest abstracts from colleges discussing the possibility of these vortices, these magnetic wormholes on the planet, speculating that, there could be areas of the planet that seem to have weak spots where portals could open, attributing it to CERN, attributing it to a lot of other things. But what they sometimes don't bring up, which they should bring up, is the Montauk project. And that's one of those topics that I haven't discussed for some time, mainly because of the fact that one of the chief speakers on this project was, of course, Al Bielek, and I had him on the program many years ago. In fact, it was one of the first guests I had on this program when it first started some 17 years ago. Al Bielek, of course, was on a ship that during Project Rainbow, the Philadelphia experiment, where they tried to teleport a ship. It was their first attempt at rendering it invisible, and what happened is they opened up a dimensional doorway by accident using, the heavy electromagnetic frequencies that you can use to do so, and they went ahead in time. I think it was a point in 1983 where they came into 1983, went back, and then came back. But it didn't stop after the Al Bielek situation. It didn't stop. There were more things happening at Montauk which is an area in New York State near Camp Hero, which is out there. There's an interesting, it's a very creepy-looking place. If you ever see it online, it actually has this tower with a radar type of screen that's up. That it's just an abandoned area now, or maybe it's not. We just don't know. But my guest, Stewart Swerdlow, knows a lot about this. He is a gifted hyperspace intuitive. He has been able to determine foundational mind patterns, life experiences, everything. He has been through a lot with regard to this program, this Montauk Project program. And we're going to have him tell his story tonight, because I want you to get to know this story, because it's not talked about all that much. It's one of those secret projects that they did on children, and it was a project that dealt with genetics, it dealt with mind control, it dealt with even time travel. And we're going to hear about that tonight. In fact, everything that you read about in Montauk is kind of like, and I don't want to lessen the credibility, but it's like watching a Fringe episode, because that's, I mean, you have William Bell and you have Walter Bishop, who conducted experiments on children, and they gave them cortexiphan, and they gave them these drugs, and they gave them all these other things to kind of enhance their psychic abilities, their intuitive abilities. Some had different powers, some had different traits that they did, tried to turn them into superheroes, tried to turn them in what you see in the X-Men, if you will. And tonight we're going to talk with Stewart about his experience. Stewart, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I haven't heard from you in a while.
I know. I haven't seen you in a while as well.
Yeah, well, I hope to see you soon. I was thinking about you the whole time. I've been thinking about, right now, I've been putting my mind out there, grasping at straws. And what I mean by that is there are so many stories about the possibility that we've been tinkering with the continuum. And your story and what you've been through is kind of, I guess, the classic story. And knowing that I know you, and knowing that, you know, we met up, we befriended each other at Conspiracy Con, I feel closer to you, and I can talk more about your experiences, and you can share with my audience your experiences at Montauk. So why don't you start from the beginning a little bit and let people hear your story, and we can ask some questions along the way.
Sure, and of course I have to start my story before I was even born, why I was even chosen for the Montauk Project, and that's because of my family background. And just to make a very long story short, my great-uncle, Yakov Swerdlow, was the first president of the Soviet Union, and my family in Russia was involved in the political situation there, and was sent to both Britain and the United States in order to start the Communist Party and to entice people to come back to the Soviet Union. So because of that, my family was very heavily monitored by the U.S. government. My father was used in experiments in the United States, or secret projects, even back in the 1950s in El Paso, Texas. And then when I was born, I was also used in experiments. And that I've documented all of that in my book, Montauk Alien Connection, which was about my personal life story. But in Montauk, which generally ran from 1970 to 1983, they were involved in using experiments in genetics, time travel, interdimensional activities, even esoteric weaponry, weather control. A lot of what we see happening today in the world was experimented in and perfected during the Montauk Project. And so one of the things I was involved in back then, among many other sub-projects that happened there, was to open up the mind, use that 90% of the brain that isn't used and the 97% of the DNA that isn't used, open that up to see what potential a person could have. Now, in my personal experience, unfortunately, one of the side effects, or maybe it was intentionally done, was that I became physically blind. I could not see physical reality the way a normal person does. And that was so they could create an individual who could see into other realities without the use of a device. In other words, making me into a walking interdimensional machine or device. Mm-hmm. And so I was put into projects where you would look for color information in other dimensions, symbol or archetype, time travel vortices or wormholes into this current reality, how to get from one place to the other. Also, how the mind is used, how you can put symbol and color together to create hyperspace sentences in order to manifest things in physical reality or alternate realities. So it was very, very comprehensive, even involved the use of interspecies communications, like with human and dolphin, human and alien species, etc. There were, at the Montauk Project, scientists from other countries, and there were scientists from other worlds. So it's a very comprehensive story. In fact, now there is a movie out called Montauk Chronicles, which has been at some of the film festivals across the United States, and will hopefully go international soon. It's a very chilling movie, too. I've seen some of the excerpts from the film. Anything from talking about the Montauk Project from the beginning all the way back to Philadelphia Project, the Philadelphia experiment, I mean, to, and once again, you confirmed it for me, opening up wormholes, being able to find weak spots in the electromagnetic grid in order to transport or at least come down and take. We were talking last night with David Paulides, who is a law enforcement officer, who said that he's been investigating strange disappearances of children in the forests and in certain areas of the globe. And he says that the government covers it up completely, that you cannot get any information about disappearances in the forested areas of the United States. And some people have, for example, been taken, and some of them have been accidentally harmed in some way where their skin has actually melted off of them as they have tried to make the transition. And it's very interesting, the stories he was telling last night. Stewart Swerdlow is my guest tonight on Ground Zero. We'll talk more about the wormholes. We'll talk more about those weak spots and talk more about the experiments that happen at Montauk, Camp Hero in New York. The number to call, 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. In our quest for truth, we must open our minds and listen to those who have had experiences. And Stewart Swerdlow has had many. He will definitely be someone you'll want to listen to tonight on Ground Zero. Don't go away. We'll be back.
It's the things that go bump in the night. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis. Business as usual in the apocalypse. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Stewart Swerdlow is my guest tonight, and he is going to deliver information that is just going to have you glued to the radio. We're very excited to have him on the program. It's the first time I've had him on to tell his story, I think, on Ground Zero about what happened at the Montauk base at Camp Hero. And so tonight I'm very privileged to have him on. Was this the Pegasus Project?
No, this was actually something different, and I know that in the last couple of years there's been a lot of talk or information about Pegasus, but that was a totally different project than Montauk, although I'm sure that above the administration level there was a common theme behind it all.
Okay, so your project started when you were a child, a baby, right?
Well, I was actually 13 years old.
Okay, I thought you were younger than that, but 13. Okay, it started at 13 years old.
Yeah, I just look younger than that, Clyde.
I know. You're holding up really well.
Thanks.
You bet. So okay, so it was 13 years old, and what happened? What did they do? What did it begin?
Well, in the beginning, it was very experimental because they didn't really understand the equipment that they were using too much. It was alien equipment, and I was told at the time that the equipment was derivative of Sirius A technology. And back in the 50s and 60s, the U.S. government was exchanging technology with alien groups of various sorts and deciding which ones they were going to participate with and which ones ones they were going to exclude, etc. So by 1970, when Montauk Project began, they had already determined that they were making exchanges with certain alien groups for information and technology, and then they would take that technology and alter it to do other things or perhaps enhance it to what they wanted to do.
Were you aware of how far back that technology went? I mean, we all seem to stop at Roswell when it comes to that sort of thing, but I think that maybe I've been discussing with other historians and other people that we may have to go back even into the 30s and 20s for alien technology they may have been using.
That's correct. In fact, it was back in the 1920s when they first interacted with certain alien groups, but very limited ways. But, a lot of the Montauk Project technology and ideas did come from the Nazis, who, back in the 1930s and 40s, did have interaction with a group that helped support them.
So once again, you are confirming, this is awesome, Stewart, you are confirming all of the information that we have heretofore dug up about the alien technologies being exchanged with the Nazis, because we actually had talked with a number of people, Henry Stevens and several other people. Henry Stevens was very hesitant in telling us that the Nazi technology was exchanged from the aliens, but we had others who came on the program who said that they were quite certain that the Nazis had developed or at least had in their possession these Wunderweapons or these experimental weapons that were handed over to them from alien entities sometime in the 1930s.
That's correct. These particular group for the Nazis came from the star system called Aldebaran, who claimed that they were responsible for the development of the Germanic civilization, and that's why they were helping them.
So they were saying that they were the forebears of the Germans, the Germanic cultures?
Correct. That's correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and in fact, after the war, there were documents that were discovered that the Nazis kept very meticulous records, and it documented the information they got from Aldebaran and how they were able to create these vril craft that could go over 5,000 kilometers per hour.
Another confirmation of your story, Stewart, would be this. I did some research a while back in Plum Island, which is near Camp Hero, where they do the experiments on animals and they do disease experiments, was actually owned by a Nazi. And it's well known that a Nazi came here and he came and did the experiments there. They allowed him to do that. He was part of the paperclip program.
Exactly. I was going to say that was Paperclip Project, and they saved them from the trials at Nuremberg and brought them to the U.S. and the U.K. In order to continue their experiments. It's
just amazing how this was going on, and no one really knew about it. And now we're 70 years later, we can now talk about this freely and really don't. This is new to them because this intelligence has just been released, but all this is new to them. And once again, hearing your story and several other stories of what went on at Montauk and Camp Hero seem to be very, they all are congruent, which is amazing. We're going to come back with more with Stewart Swerdlow right here on Ground Zero. In the first half hour, he has already confirmed many things about Nazi technologies and how they were used at Camp Hero at Montauk in New York. It also confirms that Plum Island was also part of some sort of a Nazi plot. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
U.S. military. Controversial Ground Zero in war. Nuclear bomb, dangerous radiation.
And I don't think it's right. I think it's wrong.
CIA.
I think the government should step in.
CIA. Sex, drugs, and rock by rape.
The river of time may have world.
No rapture. There's no space brothers. There is only mind control and elimination of people who don't belong.
Violence like in levels A5, A6, A7.
They found themselves in a vortex, like a wormhole in space and time, and they came out at Montauk Point in 1983.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL or 1-877-733-1011. My guest tonight, Stewart Swerdlow. He's giving us the lowdown about Montauk and his experiences there. And in the first half hour of this program, we've already confirmed a number of things that have already been spoken of on this program. And Stewart has the experience, and it all is congruent. That is what is amazing about this whole thing. We're giving you the congruencies. If you missed a show, you have to go back in the archives to hear what others have had to say about these experiments that were carried over from Nazi Germany. The equipment was brought over from Nazi Germany. It was exchanged in Nazi Germany by the aliens or by special extraterrestrials or even from other worlds. That's what I want to also ask you, too. You said there were actually people there from other worlds. Are we talking planets? Are we talking dimensions? What are we talking about here when you're talking about experimenters or at least people who are analyzing or doing the experiments from other worlds?
Well, at the time, in my experience there, and remember I was rather young, there were alien beings there. There were people there from other worlds. But I know that there were also alternate reality beings that were there, and of course some of them did not look as humans, and so we sometimes didn't know if they were from our physical reality or from an alternate reality. But there were absolutely many beings there from different locations unknown to the public.
Wasn't there actually, and I'm just remembering vaguely because I think right now, more than ever, the Montauk story that you tell is, I think it's so relevant today because of all the things we're hearing about with CERN and with like television shows like Fringe, where they did experiments on children as well, and they found their capabilities and dimensional travel and all this other stuff. You know, wasn't there like, for example, a type of creature there that was like a werewolf or some creature that was like a mutant creature that was there?
Oh, there are many different creatures like that, not just werewolf type, but all kinds of hybrid-looking things that you would look at them and they'd be a cross between a human and something else. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, over the years, over the 13 years I was there, there was many different creatures that I saw.
So we're confirming that at Montauk there were chimera experiments going on. There were chimeras that were walking through the facility and they were able to function as well.
Yeah, and, you know, going back to what you said, and I do feel that many of those were coming from Plum Island, which was not that far away from Montauk.
Mm-hmm. And there was, of course, that thing called the Montauk Monster that washed up ashore. I can't remember what year it was, but it washed up on shore, and that was an amazing thing. And then there was actually another story near Montauk where a man washed up as well on the beach. And they said that he was very muscular. He had elongated fingers. Many people said he looked like he was quite possibly an animal-human hybrid. And they covered up that story really fast. But, yeah, he had a belt buckle on that said something about God, but he was actually in a running suit. And he washed up on shore there as well, and no one knew who he was or what he was doing there.
Yeah, and you know, when they would learn about different locations that they wanted to send someone or something to, very often they would create a hybrid being that might be able to live or operate in the conditions to which they were sending the person or the thing in order to explore it. So, for example, if they knew that there was a certain environmental condition in the location or the target location, they would hybridize a person or an animal or an insect or whatever they happen to be using in order to live or adapt to the environment in that location.
How would they send them? That's interesting that you'd say they would send them and they would adapt them to a different location. How would that operate? How would that happen?
Well, every point in time and in space has a unique vibratory rate or set of coordinates. So if you know the target location and the vibration rate or frequency band of that location, then the equipment or the time travel or sending the equipment, you would calibrate to vibrate at the rate of the target location, and then be an instantaneous connection, or a vortex or wormhole would be created that you could literally step into and instantaneously be at the target location.
Now, are those wormholes are they stable all the time, or did they ever have any accidents when they were doing transference?
Yeah, in fact, in the very beginning, that was part of the project, is to map or or start to learn the target location's frequency so that they knew how to connect from point A to point B. And very often when they would send a person or thing to that location, they would have what they call an anchor device that would then be left at that location, so there'd be a permanent connection between Montauk and this other place.
Okay. So that way they wouldn't get lost, so they could find their way back.
Right, and then it becomes a reference point to then explore other vibration rates in that particular neighborhood, as they called it, of frequencies.
Okay. Now, are there any places were they setting them on the planet, or were they setting them to other planets using these wormholes?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because they sent them to other planets. They sent them to other alternate realities of the Earth, as well as locations in the current Earth, and even within different time periods in the current Earth. So it was a vast array of locations and targets that they used.
Wow. And let's see. So they were moving about on the Earth, going through different timelines. Did they ever give you an idea of how many timelines or how many different dimensions they were here on this planet?
Well, there are infinite. Whatever you can think of exists somewhere. And it's interesting you mentioned CERN before, because I believe that the CERN project near Geneva is actually an outgrowth of the Montauk project. And what they're doing there, I mean, publicly they're talking about a God particle and that kind of thing. That's just for public consumption. Mm-hmm. I went to visit Geneva last year, and I tried to scan into CERN, and I know people who had been working in there or had connected to it in some way. And what they're doing is to find alternate realities where the Illuminati have already gained power and controlled the Earth. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is then trying to collapse those alternate realities into this one to enhance what they're doing here.
So if they destroy other dimensions or other realities, then what does that remind me of? That reminds me of a story of a guy who I think it was called The One, where this guy went from reality to reality to reality, and he wanted to destroy every copy of himself in every reality so that he could become more powerful in this reality. So the idea is that the more realities we destroy and we take over, then that makes us even more powerful for some reason. Is that true?
Well, think of it like this. Think of it as merging into, one into the other, kind of like mixing them in a bowl, so to speak, mm-hmm. And blending them so that they enhance one another. So, yes, it's kind of like that. Okay,
because it, and I forgive me, but I have to go on, what is depicted as science fiction. J.J. Abrams has created a show called Fringe. And I can only think of, because they were talking about the science behind Fringe and the quantum realities that were within that show, and they were talking about those very things. They were talking about, like, for example, the main character has to merge worlds because both worlds, if one world dies, then another world can die with it. You don't know when you're destroying these dimensions what worlds could go down with the other dimensions. And so they had to be very careful about not destroying each other. In fact, they called a truce between the dimensional areas, and but it was interesting to watch how, there were certain vortices that would come down and destroy certain areas. In fact, a whole city called Westfield, or a whole town called Westfield, was destroyed because of some tinkering and tampering with the Earth's magnetic field and with the idea of doing the transference between worlds.
Well, it's a very delicate operation, and that's why CERN is being started on and off, and they're not telling you what's going on, because the end result could be either the destruction of a place, like you mentioned, or an enhancement of it. So it's very delicate about how they perform this procedure.
Mm-hmm. So they have to be very careful about how they do this. And it's interesting because I remember somewhere, and I'm trying to figure out, you went to Geneva. You were on the campus of CERN, right?
Yes.
Okay, so on the campus of CERN, you see Vishnu, and which is the death, the god of death, or the goddess of death, same as what Oppenheimer had said, I have become death, the destroyer of worlds. I find that interesting that that god is on the campus of CERN. Another thing I found interesting, and I don't know if it's true, but they have tapestries that they've created that are that they have, and no one knows why they have them there, where they're made of cloth, and what's inscribed on them are huge letters. Some of them are in Hebrew, some of them are in Sanskrit, and then they said that there are some that you don't recognize the languages or the characters that they have on these little cloths. And somebody is thinking that they're using them to send a communication to another dimension, and they've already made communications, better communications in the other dimensions. They found ways to hold up these signs so that these beings can see their work. Do you have any idea about that?
Well, I think that they definitely are using them as a communication, but also they're using them as a frequency enhancer, because those symbols or the letters and the colors, etc., that they're using all have an energy value to them. And so by using these particular symbols, they're enhancing the energy of the project. I also can tell you that the Vatican has an office at CERN, which I find quite interesting. Why would the Vatican have a presence in that location? And underneath CERN, which is right near Lake Geneva, there are tunnels that go way down deep under the lake into the Alps region, as well as into other areas of Europe and other continents. And very, very few people are allowed to go into those tunnels to see what's there.
Could it be that they're trying, and I know this is going to sound odd, but could it be that they're trying to, I guess, grasp or get a hold of a way to open up some wormhole to allow for the passing of either beings that are advanced beings that are supposed to be our gods, or the actual, I guess you could say, connection between God and man himself, where it's like the Tower of Babel. This is our Tower of Babel. And they're opening it up so they can actually have this stairway, this wormhole, this whirlwind, because the whirlwind itself is a metaphor for the stairway to God. We were talking about this last night about tornadoes and about these whirlwinds and these charged particles, magnetic charged particles that could be conduits to another dimension. Could it be that they're wanting to create this type of wormhole under the earth, or somehow create it? Because I mean, you remember. When they first fired it, Norway had that strange spiral. Moscow had the strange spiral. All these areas in the part of Europe had the spiral in the sky that they saw. And I don't know.
Yeah. Those I attribute to the Blue Beam Project, which I believe this summer at the Olympics there will be some kind of an event, a global event, which will use the Blue Beam Project projection holographic images into the sky, either for staged alien invasion or some kind of religious apparition. But definitely they're in the process of planning a major event, which I believe will happen this summer and coordinate around the Olympics, when billions of people will be watching the news and television.
Would you, and I would lean towards the idea that they're going to stage some sort of a messianic event, because of the idea that if you look at the logo of the 2012 Olympics in England, it says Zion, and all of the names of the streets surrounding the stadium are named after religious figures.
Yeah, and also isn't it interesting that they have, around the Olympic sites, they have installed aerial artillery or anti-aircraft equipment, as if they're expecting something to appear in the sky that they will have to defend against.
Yeah, that is amazing, because that would be, and we haven't got far before the Summer Olympics, where we'll be seeing this.
Just 3 more months, I believe.
I know, it's just amazing, even, and that's the thing, is I was talking about this years ago, and now we're getting closer to this time, and I haven't even thought about this, because there've been so many things going on in the world, that I guess you're the one that has broken this story, this idea that they are preparing at the Olympics for some major event, because not only the name Zion is in the logo, but they've named all the streets around the stadium after religious figures, or it's religious connotations. We have the like you said, the artillery that's been set up around the area. They say they're preparing for any kind of invasion, but that's not true. Something else is out there that they're waiting for, and it seems like it's got the attention of church leaders and several other people, which is amazing.
Yeah, and recently on the news they're telling you about billions of Earth-like planets that exist within our own Milky Way galaxy. It's almost as if they're preparing the Earth's mentality for this connection to other worlds and other beings.
Yeah, and it seems like they've been trying for the longest time since Montauk and CERN to be communicating with these beings, and it just seems more than likely this is about to go down. Stuart Swerdlow, fascinating guest tonight on Ground Zero, talking about his experiences with the Montauk Project and some of the things that are happening now that they're preparing for. If you have any questions, 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. A deep discussion can be had tonight, I know, because there's so many things to cover with my guest Stuart Swerdlow tonight. We'll be back. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
You're listening to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Tonight on Ground Zero, Stuart Swerdlow is with us. Ground Zero is brought to you by Legal Shield. I want to tell you something about Legal Shield. I'm going to use them. I have to use them for something. I had a very interesting experience happen to me today that I needed to actually look into. It was a frightening experience having to do with identity theft. And I don't know, it's supposed identity theft. I don't know if it's identity theft. I will have to find that out with my lawyers at Legal Shield. But Legal Shield is there for you when you need them. And today I had to call and I had to talk with them about what to do next because of some things that were going on that happened while I was out today with a friend of mine. I just got out of a meeting, and I was with a friend of mine, and I got a phone call, and he was there. He witnessed it, and I was completely perplexed as to what I had to do. It was threatening, and it was dealing with some things. They were reading some things off on the phone to me that they knew, and I was worried that they had access to my accounts. I went to my bank immediately. I called Legal Shield, and they gave me peace of mind. At least peace of mind is something, rather than having a day where you're worried about whether or not your accounts are going to be cleared, whether or not you're not going to be able to cash checks or get credit or any of those other things. It's important that you go to groundzerols.com. Groundzerols.com is the place to go if you want to find out more about Legal Shield. It's a simple thing. You go there. There's no obligation. You get to watch a video that's online. It's a video that'll tell you about Legal Shield and let you know what you can do and what your options are. There is a phone number you can call. I urge you, I implore you to call the number and talk with a number of the representatives that are there who will help you get on board with Legal Shield. Their plans start for as little as $16 a month. There are 3 different plans you can choose from. Each one is more advanced, and there's also one for things like identity theft, which is, in my opinion, hideous. It makes you feel like you've been taken for everything. It's the most helpless feeling you'll ever get, especially when people threaten you on the telephone and they read off what they have, the information they have. It was just a really frightening experience. Thank heaven for Legal Shield. Go to the website, groundzerols.com. groundzerols.com, the perfect place to find out more about what you have as far as rights and who can protect you under the law. Coming up, more from Stuart Swerdlow, 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL, or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
about to experience. Ground Zero. An on-speaker experience. Cuts through the crowd. Just when you thought you were safe.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, The loudspeaker spoke up and said, Give up. Give up.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Montauk Air Force Station remained in operation, allegedly, till 1981. They opened the site to the public in 2002 as Camp Hero State Park. The radar tower that's there is, and it's creepy too, but it's there. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. There's going to be a museum put there. They're going to focus on World War II and Cold War era history, and I'm sure cover up all of the notorious work that went on there. Tonight, Stuart Swerdlow, my guest, talks about that work. And also, he will answer any of your questions at 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL. Or 1-877-733-1011. You know, Stuart, there's a lot of things that, I mean, the project dates back some time. There's no real narrative. Everybody has different experiences. There's so many people that say that, yes, there were things going on there. Did you walk away from your mind control and whatever else they were doing with any gifts or anything that you picked up on?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, you know, I was blind for 29 years because of what happened there, and I was only able to perceive energy fields, archetypes, colors, etc., although I was able to perceive objects as well. I could function very well in physical reality. No one would know that I had that issue. But as a side effect to all that, I'm able to look at energy fields of human beings and people and places, and I can read them and see what needs to be corrected, and that's how I do my work.
And that was that because they trained you in how to look at colors and dimensions and colors in different places?
Yeah, part of what I was expected to do was to study those things for them in hyperspace and determine what those meanings were, how to put them together, kind of like a formula in order to create an end result that they wanted to achieve.
In a hyperspace situation, did you find yourself in areas that you were unfamiliar with? Did you ever do any dimensional travel yourself?
Yeah, quite frequently, especially towards the end in the late 70s and the early 80s. There was a lot of pushing to get to other alternate realities and also to go back into the past to see what actually happened in certain events in history.
And did you know of any or recall of any that you were involved in?
Yeah, and I wrote about it in my Montauk book, and it is a very strange story, but they did send me back to the time of Christ, and I did have interaction with people in those time periods.
It's very fascinating. While we're heading to the Easter season, while we're preparing for Easter, they sent you back in the time of Christ, and for what purpose was that?
Well, it's a very long story, but initially they wanted to assassinate the Christ figure, but then they decided they were going to extract a vial of blood to be used to clone him for use in this particular time period that we're in now.
Okay. I'm sorry. So, okay, they wanted to go back in time to get his blood so they could clone him.
Yes, and in fact, part of the staged second coming of Christ, which I expect to happen in the very near future, they will have this being that they proclaim as the second coming of Christ. And when they ask for DNA testing, when the public asks for proof, the DNA of this person will match the DNA that is found in the blood on the Shroud of Turin.
So that is why this is all important, because they've been running. I know they've been running tests on the Shroud of Turin. I know that there has been. I had a woman on this show about. She came on the program and talked about how they were going to use the blood from the shroud to try and, I guess, clone a Christ figure. They say she believes that they've cloned him already, and that's Prince William. Now, I believe, I don't know if he's the clone of Christ, but I do, and I have had theories, and I've talked about it. You saw me do my story about Prince William being the Antichrist, being actually selected as the one that will lead us as the king of the world. Is there anything that you can add to that? They're going to be creating a Christ, or would you think that maybe they already have it, and maybe Prince William is that clone?
Well, I know that they already have created several versions of it. And so what we have remain to be seen is which version are they going to present to the world. And actually, Clyde, the information that you had presented that I saw, I agree with you. I agree with what you have been saying.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's pretty. That's an honor that you agree with me. I do believe, and I have been looking into a lot of things lately concerning DNA databases and genetic experimentation. I even talked about how we are leaving the uncanny valley now, preparing for the possibility of direct, what is known as avatar experimentation, where they're able to take the essence of whatever and put it into a host. Is there the possibility that they are going to be somehow selecting the consciousness and developing some sort of a clone or doppelganger for a figure that we will be fooled into believing is the Christ figure?
Absolutely, because what they do is when they create a cloned body, they also create the mind control and programming for that particular individual so that it doesn't really have a mind of its own. It's completely controlled by its handlers and controllers. So it basically becomes a cloned puppet to fulfill a function for the population to believe a certain story. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing is really the use of the book of Revelation as the script for what they're going to perpetrate on the earth.
So I agree with you, too. I've said that as well, that this the book of Revelation is actually a template for this approximation, a simulated approximation that they are actually creating. And the bottom line here is that, and I have said on this program as well, and a lot of Christians disagree with me, that the blood that is in you will be your mark, and that you will have to accept the new blood of the new Christ or the Antichrist in order to be accepted into the new government that they're forming. The church, the Catholic Church, will soon be dethroned. They'll dethrone the Pope. Once they dethrone the Pope and they put in a new Pope, Petrus Romanus, the dark Pope or the black Pope, they will use, and I didn't know that they used blood from, or they got blood from Christ that you're explaining, but they would definitely say that they have in their possession definite proof of a bloodline or some sort of blood connection, that they have done so using blood database work and the mark work, saying that they are now going to present for you the new king, and they're going to be announcing, maybe at the Olympics, like you said, they may be announcing that the full-blown alchemy has occurred and that the new Christ exists.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. But add to that scenario the staged alien invasion, so that the world is in complete fear of an enemy that cannot see, and then the Christ figure comes to save us and create his new holy empire across the world.
Which will be the counterfeit empire.
Correct, right.
So they're really, really going to go all the way with this, and they're going to show miracles and everything else, you believe?
And that's what Bluebeam Project is about, to create these holographic images in the sky and even on the ground that make people think something is actually there. And they have the capacity now with Bluebeam to actually have it be picked up on radar. It can make sounds. It's very, very real looking.
I had read somewhere one of the things that they are actually working on. They have an LRAD system now. The military and Putin, President Putin, has just created what is known as the zombie gun. This was not an April Fool's joke. They actually created something called the zombie gun, where they can take the zombie gun, which is an electromagnetic gun, they can point it or they can pinpoint it somewhere and actually render people helpless. They can actually give them all the same dream at the same time. They can give them a voice at the same time that they can hear, and it's a controlled voice that would actually get in a low-frequency level and have them at their own peril.
And that actually is an outgrowth of the Montauk Project, because it's exactly what they did back then.
What did they do? How did they keep you? How did they keep you as a puppet? How did they puppeteer you like that?
You know, they broadcast a frequency either to a specific individual or to groups or to a general area that download a function into the mind patterns of that individual or group of people, so that they have a common goal, function, idea, what have you, so that masses of people see and feel and believe the same thing.
That's amazing, because I was just reading about that the other day, and I was fascinated because, see, I've always had the idea that the way they would stage a second coming, if they were to stage a second coming, we'd first have the churches would change. There would be massive earthquakes in various places, and one of the earthquakes would yield new secrets or a new Bible or a new type of religious rite that would have people stunned, and they would go, wow, what is this? And then somehow they would say, we have we have some sort of something we want to tell the world about contact with alien beings or contact with beings out there. Then they tell us that these beings have been watching us for some time, that they are going to be arriving. They give us a date of the arrival, and many people find it to be scary. They instead of arriving in peace, they arrive to attack us. And then what happens is that in some strange way, we all have this same dream of a deliverer. We all see his face in our dream, and then he arrives, and we see him.
That's about the size of it. I think you pretty much nailed the general scenario of what they have planned.
Because I actually did a show, Stuart, and this is amazing. I did a show about, there was a show that I did called Slender Man, and it was actually about a meme that's on the Internet of a character that never really existed, but people were dreaming about him. And I said there's actually another metaphor that people have, or another type of meme that they have called the grinning man. He's a bald, grinning man, and you see him, and he comes to you, and you end up dying when you see his face, or he ends up killing you in your dream. And it's actually what the Freddy Krueger legend is based on. And I told the story, and I asked people if they saw this grinning man in their dreams. I had a number of people call me and say, yes, I'm seeing this grinning man in my dreams. I saw him, and they were all discussing it with me. 1 week later, Jared Loeffner, the man who shot Gabrielle Giffords in Arizona, was shown on the news as a grinning, bald man, and he was the murderer of Gabrielle Giffords. I was shocked that everybody had the same dream about this man, and then he shows up in the news. And I was wondering, if that is either some sort of a meme or some sort of egregore or something that we all have manifested and that we will manifest and that we all dream about, like a second coming, and we'll all realize it's happened, and that's how we'll all know.
Well, yes, I agree, and I did find it very fascinating how they changed that assassin's appearance from his normal appearance to one of this grinning, bald person who looked like he was drugged and mind-controlled, completely.
And he was drugged and mind-controlled, and they were going to do more drugs and mind-control on him to get him to confess to the crime. So it actually stands to reason that he was probably some sort of a MK Ultra or some sort of mind-controlled individual, because he did, at many times, talk about mind control in some of his videos he made at school. And so, Stuart, we got to take a break, but fascinating stuff we're learning from Stuart Swerdlow tonight. 503-417-9595, that's 9KXL, or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Everyone is in on the secrets, and big things are being planned. Call Clyde Lewis now. Ground Zero.
Tonight, Stewart Swerdlow is my guest on Ground Zero. You can call in tonight at 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL, or 1-877-733-1011. I must say that last segment that we had on this program, many people who were in the studio, our mouths were dropped as we were hearing Stewart talk about what could go down, and this could go down rather soon. I mean, I'm thinking that this could be the revelation for 2012, perhaps. Maybe this is what they're saying. I mean, I've always said there's got to be something that has to be revealed in 2012. Otherwise, all this workup is for nothing.
No, I agree with you. And, of course, 2012 has nothing to do with the Mayan calendar. It has everything to do with the Illuminati agenda of complete domination of the Earth by the end of this year. And that's what we're seeing pretty much every day on the news. All the events, all the stories are geared towards having people live in fear, being worried about what's going to happen, and leading up to these end events, or the end time events, where they wrap everything up in a nice, neat little package.
Yeah, I find it interesting that, I don't know if I talked with you about this, but I did talk with Bill Burns about this. Remember back a while ago where they had the strange light over the Temple Mount, and everybody said that this was some sort of even on Fox News, they said, wondering if he has come back. They actually said that on Fox News. They said, we saw a strange light over the Dome of the Rock, and we're asking the question, has he returned? What I thought was fascinating about that is that they did find a baby at the Dome of the Rock just a day after that UFO was seen, just a day after that light was seen, which makes me wonder about who that baby was or what that baby was and why it was left there.
Yeah, and also, and around that same period of time, there was a strange light over a pyramid in Chichen Itza in Mexico, which was photographed as well.
Yes, they just did that news story about that light beam that came down on that pyramid there.
Yeah. So they're definitely doing that blue beam event sequences where they're making people basically get surprised and shocked and say, wow, the Book of Revelation is coming to life. All these things are happening the way it was laid out. And you're correct. There's going to be earthquakes in various locations. There are already pretty much every week on the news discoveries in either Israel, Rome, Greece, places where archaeological discoveries are showing biblical artifacts that have been discovered that verify the stories that are in the Bible.
Yeah, in fact, they just found they found something in Turkey a while ago that they were saying, and this is what I found was interesting. They found a Bible in Turkey that said that Jesus was also awaiting the arrival of Muhammad.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And that is weird, because if they decide to ecumenically converge on all the religions and create a caliphate, which is a commander of the faith, then we will no longer have a pope, we will no longer have a head of a church, we will have a commander over all faiths in the world to create that new world order. And who will be the commander of the faith? And who will be that man that will sit there in the European Union in that 666 seat? That's the question I'm wondering. We're having all kinds of problems with the EU right now. Talk of Nazis, in the EU right now. It's amazing. If you follow some of the stuff that's going on in Parliament, you will see that the world is a much different place we're hearing about here in the United States. And I have a whole lot to cover in the next couple of weeks leading up to the Olympics. And, Stuart, you're just jogging my memory of all this wonderful stuff. We'll be back with more with Stewart Swerdlow coming up on Ground Zero. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
stop. Whatever you do, don't fall asleep. I just asked you to do one thing. Just stay awake and watch me. Just wake me up if it looked like I was having a bad dream.
Bad news.
And what did you do? You fell asleep, man. Are you okay? Yeah, just a little dream, that's all. Going right back to sleep. Okay. Call me if you need anything, okay?
I'm Clyde Lewis, and you are listening to Ground Zero. Tonight, Stewart Swerdlow is my guest. And believe me, we're becoming enlightened about what may be happening in the future from a man who's gone from dimension to dimension, has seen colors, was programmed. He was at Montauk, part of the experimental program. And now he's imparting his knowledge with us. And believe me, we are riveted to what he has to say. Tonight on Ground Zero, we're grateful to have him here. Thank you, Stewart. I think we're going to take a few calls. A lot of people have been patiently waiting. Take a few calls just to break the monotony just a little bit and to see what they have to say. They're all chomping at the bit to talk, so I'm going to go to them now. Let's go to Todd calling from Lake Tahoe. Todd, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. Fascinating show. Stewart, I really like what you have to say. It's very informative. But a minute ago, you were mentioning Loeffner and the mind control aspect of it. And really what most people don't really realize is there was a federal judge that got killed that day.
Yeah.
And he was a very constitutionalist judge.
Yes.
And he was actually ruling whether the government had a right to take pensions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know that about that day, and I think that's an important thing to...
Well, there are a lot of strange things that happened on the day. The little girl that died, actually... she
born on 9/11.
She was born on 9/11, and she died within... actually, it was a reverse date. She was born on 9/11, and she died 11/9, which was interesting.
Wow, I never realized that.
Yeah, and so that's something that needs to be considered. I think it was 11. It wasn't 11/9/11. It was 11/9 something else. She died, but it was an interesting date change, and that's why, whenever you see things like that, whenever you see synchronicities like that, and whenever you hear of these, when the numbers all measure up, and when people start dreaming about things like this, you have to understand that there's something more to this than just the fact that somebody was killed. Or, you look at Gabrielle Giffords, for example, and all the things they've done for her and her husband that was an astronaut, and it just seems to be strange, a lot of strange things coming out of that case. And so that it just seems to be something like that.
Well, I always thought that, Clyde. I really did. I thought everything about that was almost manufactured.
Yeah, manufactured. It was like somebody went into time and made it happen. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like they timed it so perfectly.
Or they made it happen.
Yeah, or they made it happen for a reason.
They made it happen.
Stuart, what do you have to say about that when you see things that are so synchronized and so bizarre, and how the numbers add up. I mean, 9/11 was like that. The attacks on the United States were like that as well. They were synchronized. The numbers added up. It all seemed to be some sort of Illuminati ritual. They say it's the cremation of care. I even say, because I don't know if I've told you this story, but I actually met with Orrin Hatch, and I asked him if our relationship with Osama bin Laden was worth it in order to allow 9/11 to happen, and he said yes, it was worth it. And I was totally freaked out, because I said, so you mean to tell me that 3,000 people had to die in the future so that communism would die in the past? And he said, I never thought of it that way. And I go, that's exactly what you're saying. You're saying that, communism had to die because we made a deal with bin Laden to go in and fight the Russian army, and then his activities brought on 9/11. That's an amazing thing to think, that we had to sacrifice 3,000 people in the future.
Well, the Illuminati think nothing of sacrificing masses of people in order to achieve a goal, because to them, the death of those individuals adds energy to their project or to their scenario in order to achieve the global domination. And numbers are very important to them. The symbolism is important to them. They do arrange and stage all of it for what they call a global ritual. And we're seeing many, many more of them in the days and weeks to come, including what we mentioned earlier about the staged alien invasion and the staged second coming, which will probably occur on dates that have very symbolic numerical values.
Well, thank you for your call. Calling tonight from Lake Tahoe, Todd.
Well, thank you.
You have a great night. Thank you. Bye-bye. Let's go to Matt now. Matt, hi, you're calling tonight from Portland. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde, this is Matt. I just had a quick question for you and your guest. You mentioned that Christ is going to be replicated or cloned, and that there's going to be a one-world religion, and so forth. And you mentioned that this is going to happen by the end of 2012.
Or it'll happen. At least we will know that it's beginning somewhere towards the end of 2012.
But you say the Illuminati's goal is for world domination by 2012, by the end of 2012.
I didn't say that. Did you say that, Stewart?
Yeah, that is their agenda for December 21st, 2012.
So if you have this theory that all this is going to occur within a year, and if that doesn't happen, then what do you think about your theories if the data doesn't confirm your theories?
They're theories.
Right. I'm just saying.
They're theories.
What are you going to say about your theory?
That your theory was wrong. They're theories. That's what you say. You say my theory was wrong. I was wrong about my theory. That's exactly what you said.
Say that there's a problem with the reasoning process as well?
No.
Why not?
Because there's every reason to believe that something may happen on December 21st, 2012 that's not the end of the world. I have theories myself about what's going to happen. There's every reason to believe, to consider that these things may happen. If they don't happen on that date, which most people who are tight for that will say, well, it didn't happen on that date, so it never happened. No, it could happen a day before. It could happen weeks after, weeks before. It's just that it's an approximation. That's what a theory is.
Yeah, if you say it's a week before or a month after, it's pretty much within a year. If that's their goal, within domination within 2012, one world religion within 2012, give or take a month, then I would have to question my theory or my reasoning process about those theories.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because you could have a reasoning process based on circumstantial evidence or educated evidence that is demonstrating that these things are happening now, which they are. I mean, everything that Stewart is talking about, everything that I'm talking about is happening. We're seeing the very plan that is a template that is being organized right now. You're seeing the template being utilized. Now, whether it be because it's really happening and that Jesus is going to come prancing and dancing into the world by 2012, or it's happening because they are preparing and approximating the world for a possible messianic return of something or someone, I know for a fact that they are getting ready to reorganize the Catholic Church, and they're going to turn the power over to the Jesuit orders. I know that for a fact because it is happening. We're analyzing it. We're seeing it. We're hearing murmurs from the Catholic Church. In fact, it was reported in Italy that they were going to assassinate the Pope sometime in the end of April. So, I mean,
you say that's a fact.
It is a fact, yes.
But I can say something is a fact, but if those things don't come to pass, then I have to question.
If they don't come to pass, then there's a change in plan.
And there's also sabotage
at
work. There are many groups that are trying to sabotage all of this. You know, when you have a recipe for a cake and you have all the ingredients and you have the day you're going to make the cake and you put it all together and the cake doesn't come out the way you planned it, does that mean you were wrong for planning the cake or that you made a mistake about the cake? It means that the factors came together that changed it. And so it's completely useless to sit there and talk about, well, what if this doesn't happen and that doesn't happen?
Yeah, because if it doesn't happen, it's a theory.
I think it's reasonable.
No, it's not. I'll give you something reasonable, Matt. Listen to me. Did you know that there was actually a broadcast on a number station that they were going to assassinate President Medvedev in Russia? Did you know that? That they actually broadcasted on a number station. They did the calculations and figured out that they were going to kill Medvedev and put Putin in as president forever. Well, guess what? They didn't kill Medvedev, but Putin was made president. So something changed in the policy in the process. That doesn't mean that Putin didn't become president. It just means they didn't kill Medvedev in the process. So intelligence can change, ideas can change, times can change, motives can change. All of these things can change. So theories based on circumstantial evidence are theories. And if they don't come to pass, then you change your idea of when it might be or when it can be.
But then by that same reasoning, you can continue that same theorizing and refuting the theory.
It's a hypothesis. It's a theory. Science does it all the time, and they're wrong sometimes too. And no one sits and says that that science is wrong for saying that global warming is real when it's BS.
Oh, come on, global warming.
No, it's BS.
Yes, it is.
Really, go outside now in your skivvies and tell me it's warm. Yeah. I mean, no, come on. You know, theories are...
I'll take a scientist's word.
Matt, you will?
About that specific subject matter.
You will.
Than a layman's, definitely.
You will. Science can be bought off, Matt.
Well, then you're going to be led down a garden path,
yes, you are.
My friend.
Because, Matt, I'll tell you now, Matt, science can be paid off, and you know damn good and well when those emails came out that they were paid off to say what they're saying, and now they're saying this.
You're talking about a specific group.
I don't care. I don't care. If a certain group in science can be bought off, if it can be bought off, Matt, then anybody can be bought off.
Every university,
any theory that can be retooled and rechanged, you believe is nonsense, and that's fine.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that you have to revise your theory.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And question whether your reasoning process is correct in that matter. And the second point is, if you keep... Hello?
I'm here. I wouldn't hang up on you.
If you...
We're discussing this, so go ahead. What?
I say it gives you an excuse to continue to make these theories because I don't have to be accountable for the facts that make up that theory later on. So I can just continue to make a theory. Then if it doesn't work out, I can make another theory and so forth.
No. If you make a theory that's wrong, you should cop to it. You should say, I was theorizing this, I realize I'm wrong in that theory, and now I have to reevaluate what it is I'm thinking, and I'm going to move forward and see what else I can come up with to see. But I do know that all circumstances pointed to that very thing to happen.
You know what, Matt? I hope that it is wrong. I hope that they don't do all those things.
So do I.
You know, I really hope it is wrong.
Well, I don't think there's going to be one world religion, for one thing.
Oh, sure there will.
They already
how are you going to get it? For example, how are you going to get the Muslim world diverse? They're at each other. The Shiites and they're all diverse groups, practitioners. There's even no consensus within Christianity. There's no consensus.
Matt, how do you get a group of people to decide to give up their rights and freedoms? You scare them into doing it. That's just what they did with 9/11.
I don't think you're going to get a Baptist to agree with a Catholic.
Then they'll be sent
or
to the camps,
to agree with a Baptist.
Then they'll be sent to the camps, won't they?
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think so? Boy, Remember?
I don't think there's going to be any religious camps.
Oh, there'll be camps.
That's what they said in Germany in 1933.
That's a specific country, a specific historical period.
Yeah, like they said that it wouldn't happen in America.
You're talking about an entire world.
They said that it wouldn't happen in America either. We put Japanese in concentration camps as well.
Again, that's a very specific phenomenon.
Matt, history repeats itself because we forget. We forget history and we repeat it.
But you're talking about the whole world.
I am, and it's going to change it, buddy. You watch. You watch.
The world's too complicated.
We'll have a conversation like this later on. Matt, I appreciate your call. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye. 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL. Or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
I don't think I've announced this because we've been really caught up with what Stewart has to say tonight and about the theories that we've been throwing out here. Thanks for the call, Matt. I want to tell you this. Quietus will be removed off the website Monday. The download that you have been downloading for 99 cents, we're removing it. We're going to remove it because we've had it up there, and this is your last chance to download it for 99 cents and to get the movie Plan 10, The UFO Apocalypse. Go to the website now. If you haven't done it yet, 99 cents. It's $1. It's a no-brainer. I'm not having it up there forever. I said it was a limited time. It's going away. We're taking it down. We have something that just came in that that we may release. It's amazing. It was an interview that I did with Tex Mars in Texas about a couple months ago. And we're going to put that up eventually because it's a fantastic interview I did in Texas with him talking about the changing of the government and how this will all go down. So, Matt, if you want to know how it's all going to go down and how it can go down, well, we have a world religion, we have a world government, and how it all happens. You want to listen to the show that we're going to present that's going to be on the website. But in the meantime, if you would like a copy of Quietus, the presentation that I did during the sunstorm of the sunstorm dream that I had converted into the sound art that I create on this program, you have to go to groundzeromedia.org. That's groundzeromedia.org. Scroll down to where it says Quietus 2012. Click on it, and you can download it for 99 cents. And we also throw in that video, Plan 10, the UFO Apocalypse. Please download these because we are about ready to take them down. We've had them up for some time now, and we'd really, really love for you to get it. But we have to let you know, this whole weekend, Easter weekend, you'll be able to download it. You can give it away as an Easter present to your friends or whatever. Listen with your friends on Easter Sunday, whatever you want to do. But if you want to download it, you got to do it now because it's going to be gone Monday. We're taking it down on Monday. So, and it won't be around again because it's I don't know. I don't have any reason to have it available. I may find a reason, who knows, but I'm like Disney. I'm going to put it in the vault and forget about it in the meantime. So, go to groundzeromedia.org, go down, scroll down, click on the banner that says Quietus 2012, download the feature for 99 cents. We'll throw in a movie, too. Stuart Swerdlow is coming up talking more about some interesting stuff tonight. A lot of great debate on the phones. If you want to get involved in the phones tonight, 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL. Or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
Some of the scenes you will witness may appear to border on fantasy.
Stand by.
You have 5 seconds. 5. Information is free. 4, 3, there is hope. 1.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Tonight, my guest is Stewart Swerdlow, talking about the Montauk Project. We talked about a number of things. We have started off talking about his experiences and then insights into future events, theories, approximations, things of that nature, where we have enough circumstantial evidence to show that we are heading in that direction. The timetable could be as early as, 3 weeks from now. Could be as long as 3 or 4 months from now, maybe even 6 months from now. But there is that window, and the window has always been, according to historians, according to futurists, according to, future trends are not a part of any kind of mystic or psychic ability. Future trends are things that you see happening around you, and you can pretty much figure out what's going on. If you paid attention to what's going on right now in the EU Parliament, you can pretty much tell that they're ready for an antichrist government. Or they're pretty ready for a government that can be put under one umbrella where we can all help people out when they're killing themselves in the public square in Greece. When you have people from England in the parliament accusing Germany of harboring Nazis, Norway of harboring Nazis, that the Nazis are back, that they are back and they're ready to take control of the entire world, or at least a form of Nazism or an imperial cult that will take over. They're all speaking of that imperial cult, and you can't be more obvious than having the woman of Babylon riding a beast in the foyer and courtyard of the Brussels Parliament, there at the EU. And so tonight, with me, Stewart Swerdlow. Wouldn't you say that all of this stuff is blatant, and they're blatantly giving us clues, and they're actually showing us what they're about to do before they do it?
Absolutely, and I was telling you before the show that I just came back from Europe, and I spent several weeks in Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, and I'm going to tell you that the Nazis are back, and people are telling me there that they expect a resurgence in the Nazi movement. The people in Germany and Austria are tired of what's going on within the EU. They're tired of paying for the debts of Greece and Italy and Portugal and other countries. And I also know that the Germans have already reprinted the Deutschmark and intend to redistribute that.
Yep. It seems to be a complete and total rebellion that's going on. If you take a look at the videos, I posted one the other day of, what's his name, Nigel, I can't remember his last name. His name's Nigel Ferrer, and he was there, and he attacked the guy from Belgium that was there, the head of the EU, and attacked him and made fun of him. He basically told the German premier, the German representation, he said, why don't you come clean, and why don't you admit that with all the things you're hiding from us, that the Nazis are there, that they are rising in power, that Norway is also harboring Nazi sentiment, that they're not only going after, they're tired of Greece and Italy, but they're also tired of the immigration of Islam, and that they are literally want to declare a bounty on the heads of Muslims. They want to shoot them in the public square. And they were completely dumbfounded and booing him, saying, "How dare you do this?" But it just seems to me that he is reflecting the very voice of what Europe is going through right now. That Europe, the guy who created the EU, said that they are tired of the committees, they're tired of the bickering, and he said, "Bring us a savior, whether he be devil or angel. We will accept him with open arms." He made that statement in Parliament. They're ready for a king of the world, a religious caliphate. They're ready for the commander of the faith to take over and put it all under one umbrella. And they will need something, some sort of crisis or some sort of thing to create the Hegelian dialectic to ensure that the people of Europe will bind together in a religious sense to fight whatever foe is out there, whatever phantom they so suit. They will do so, and believe me, Stuart, what you're saying is, in my opinion, correct, because I've been keeping my eyes on Europe, I've been keeping my eyes on everything, and I'm just seeing it all happen. The power of alchemy is what they're holding strong to. The power of your blood is what they're holding strong to. They want the databases. They want the health care plans. They want the eugenics directives. They want it all because that will give them the opportunity to weed out or sift out, as Hitler says, those who do not follow their whims and their wishes.
Exactly correct, and you're quite right about the Muslim, what they consider to be a Muslim invasion of Europe, very much like what happened with the Ottoman Empire and with the Mongols in centuries past. I was told, this I found very interesting by a person in Austria this past trip, that the mosque is not just a religious center, but actually a military installation. And the minaret, the tall tower of the mosque, actually is symbolic of a sword, and the dome of the mosque is symbolic of a shield. So that to the Muslim presence there, these buildings represent the military objective. And the Europeans are very disturbed by it, and they want to push them out of Europe again.
Right, not to mention the fact that we have those leftovers from World War II, the Gladio, the P. Dewey. We have all these secret societies within the Catholic Church that are being positioned. I had a woman on this program who was an interpreter at the Vatican, who was actually married to a man who was actually an actor, who came on this program and did the entire show in Italian, telling us about what was going on and how the church was preparing for a war. And it was not only a war of words and a war of fighting, but they were also planning on attacking spiritual powers in high places. And that they were feeling that the church was under attack, and that the new pope would come from the Jesuit order, and that goes all in with the whole prophecy of Malachi, the Irish prophet who said that the next pope would be named Petrus Romanus, or the dark pope, or the black pope, Peter the Roman.
And I believe that was going to be the last pope. Yes.
He would be the last pope, and he would die in office. He would die in power, and he would die right before the rise of the King of the World or the Antichrist. So,
yeah, and we're witnessing all of this being staged right now in front of us.
I agree with you. I mean, it just seems, and I love how you called it the template, because that's what I always frame it as. It's a template because they can do this. They have the power to move the masses in a direction where they want it. They are approximating this. And it's not, it's a theory based on some circumstantial facts that have been rising up recently and what we've been reading about recently. And if you look up what we talk about here, what I'm talking about, what Stewart's talking about, if you look and research these things, you will see that they are true. That, yes, the Olympics will be a place where some presentation is going to happen where we're all going to go, wow, because they have been preparing us for it mentally. The presentation for the Olympics actually looked like the landing of a flying saucer, and they actually did this in the presentation they were using to pitch the Olympic Games. They actually made the logo to look like the word Zion. There was actually also the Olympics in the Olympic logo in China, also spelled out the word Zion, and it had a huge I, and they actually said one world, one idea, or one mind. And it was the idea of pushing this world order, or this government that is going to be worldwide, a worldwide government where we're all fighting for one cause. And they were actually proposing in Science Weekly a government that would be a scientific government where the UN would appoint, instead of a legislature, a scientific or a science group that would make laws so that we would steer the world in a direction that would be safer and more environmentally friendly.
At what expense to the public?
Yeah, we would be taxed and we would be kept from resources, and that's why the president signed the executive order saying that under any crisis that he would be in charge of all the food, the water, the land, the livestock, all resources in the United States.
That's right. And there's more to President Obama than meets the eye. He is a total setup for the country.
It seems like it, isn't he? He's setting us up for failure. We're already in the middle of a boiling or an almost raging civil war here in this country that will a race war that may spark at any moment because of what's going on in Florida. They keep building upon this, and I've done this topic twice. I've already shown how the media has manipulated this whole story by excising or selectively removing things from phone conversations, or actually enhancing phone conversations, saying that he said certain things when he didn't say them. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if I made mention of this, but I said on the show that when they said that he said the swear word and then he said the word coon, he did not say that. He said cold, and now the enhancements in CNN actually said he said that. He said that it was effing cold and not the other way around. So, I mean, it's just that they want to manipulate this. They love to take people in directions they wouldn't normally be taken. It really, Stewart, it's mind control. And they no longer have to do it in secret locations like where you were. They can do it massively now.
Well, it's done every day on CNN and Fox News and BBC and every other global news service, which broadcast complete mind control and programming to the entire globe.
And it's obvious they do that, for sure. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Stewart Swerdlow. The number to call, 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL. Or 1-877-733-1011. Fascinating conversation with Stewart Swerdlow tonight. If you have anything you want to add to the conversation, it's 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL. Or 1-877-733-1011. What do you see happening in the not-so-distant future? We'll be back.
Back to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
This is not a test. It is the future. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Just so you know about theories and approximation, 2012, December 21st, 2012, I'm getting married. So, look, I don't think the world's going to end. I don't want it to end because I want to have a happy life with my bride-to-be. We're getting married on December 21st, 2012, just to stick it to the people who believe that it's going to end on that day. And we were talking just off the air. I was talking with the intern, and I was saying to him, he says, well, what if the Earth splits in two? I says, I'll definitely jump on the side where she is so I can be with her for the rest of my life. Anyway, Stewart Swerdlow, my guest tonight on Ground Zero. We're very happy to have him here, and we're talking about all kinds of stuff for the future. It's an amazing time to be alive, and I'm sure we have a lot of questions to get to. Let's go now to Josh. Hi, Josh. You're on Ground Zero with Stewart Swerdlow. Go ahead.
Hey, I was wondering, according to the dictionary, what's the definition for religion?
Don't know. I don't have a dictionary in front of me. You probably do. What is it?
No, I don't. I'm just curious because to me it seems like that this one world religion that people kind of have a hard time wrapping their minds around, and me as well, because as the previous caller said, how are you going to get the Muslims to convert? How are you going to get the Christians to convert? How are you going to get the Catholics, and so on and so forth?
You get you get an external threat that's outside that everyone can agree will be an external threat. That's how you do it.
An external threat. Okay, because my thought is I just wondered if maybe a worldwide religion would be the religion of me. It would be the religion of greed. It's everybody as iPods and iPhones and instant everything comes along. That people become more and more self-centered.
Yeah.
And everybody's waiting for the next insult so that they can be offended, and I just wondered.
Well,
maybe,
I think, and I don't know if Stewart would agree with me, I think the worldwide religion is already forming. It's called global sustainability.
Right.
And everyone can agree, or everyone will be made to agree, that global sustainability, a.k.a. global warming, climate change, world change, would be the way they'd go after it. Because, look, if they can demonstrate to you that the planet's about to kill you, that the planet's attacking you, that these storms are force multiplied, which they have the power to force multiply them using HAARP or whatever, if they can convince you that these earthquakes are because you did them and it's your carbon footprint on the planet, then you're the one that's going to have to pay for the sins of the destruction of this planet, and it has a religious basis, and that is what the world religion is going to be. It's going to be, we all believe in God, but we all believe in trying to survive on this planet, and we have the way for you to do so. You must pay for the sins of global sustainability.
See, it's just kind of difficult for me because I'm, to put it mildly, I'm not swept up in this whole thing, and I could never imagine myself being convinced that somehow, me driving from Portland to Salem will change the earth.
Well, they're already, and this is what's really scary, Josh. They're already saying that people like you and people like me that don't believe in their BS will have to be re-educated, and we will have to be told, because we are being made to the equivalence of Holocaust deniers, and that is where they place us.
Well, sure. I mean, you say something over and over and over again for years, and after a while, something that may seem might have seemed crazy 20 years ago or 30, 40 years ago, after a while, it's kind of like, wow, I can't believe I used to think like that, when in reality, it's only because you've been brainwashed. Look what employers do for a lot of, diversity training and all this kind of stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with, I don't have any problem with that kind of stuff personally. I was raised that people are people no matter what color you are, but, or whatever walk of life you choose, but at the same time, all these little seminars to bring you in line,
Here's something let's talk about re-education for just 1 second, Josh. Think about the way you were prior to 9/11. Would you think that for 1 minute you would have allowed yourself to be frisked at an airport like you're being frisked now? Or that you would roll over and play dead when it comes to rights being taken away, or constitutional laws that are being the constitutional rights that are being taken away through laws like the NDAA or the Patriot Act or any of those other things? We're just rolling over and playing dead now.
And I don't think so. But at the same time, I wasn't. I was just an average 24, 25-year-old kid. Just interested in listening to the newest songs, and I didn't pay attention to any of the political.
But now it's all political, and it's all about the phantom called terrorism. It's a threat that we're all afraid of, so we kowtow. Now let's take a bigger threat, create it, and put it out there for the whole world to want, and there you have your new religion. I got to take a break. Take care, Josh. Thanks for calling. We'll be back with Stewart Swerdlow coming up on Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
what time it is, don't you, Rich?
Listen, you gotta get up here.
6 a.m. That means I'm having my breakfast right now.
This is serious. You gotta get up here. Someone's taking the seat. They're going crazy.
All right.
I just hit a swarm of locusts. It's like the blessed apocalypse.
Yeah, well, the sheep are acting like idiots. I tried to round them up, get them back to the barn, but they won't budge.
They're walking. Everybody listen up. Joe, I need all hands in the north field.
What is that?
Scientists from all over the world are trying to figure out what caused a mysterious blue light to spiral in the sky over Norway on Wednesday.
A blue light, small at first, growing into a spiral, and then disappearing into what appeared to be a black hole.
Locals say the light appeared to be bigger than the moon. Thousands of Norwegians bombarded the Meteorological Institute to ask what that light could have possibly been. Some feared it could have been a meteor, others a black hole, and there are even those who thought it could be aliens.
A spiral in the sky around a bright light.
An unexplained circular light seen hovering high over Moscow Wednesday evening. People described seeing a wide circular formation.
What was that UFO? What was he doing over Jerusalem? And, is he back?
There you have it. Is he back? That is how it's done. You create an external anomaly, an external threat greater than any religion can tell you, what the Bible will not explain. And science steps in and explains it for you. We become a dictatorship of science. No thoughts of creationism, no thoughts of spirituality. We remove the gene. We remove that which is you to be a drone for a government that is a beast system. It can all be done within a year's time. Stuart Swerdlow said it can be done. We're theorizing it can be done as well right here on Ground Zero. And I did that. I put that together because I wanted to show how easily it can be done. Group of shepherds are somewhere in a field. Huge light engulfs them. And then it's reported all over the world. Those were taken from the Norwegian sighting, the Russian sighting, the New Zealand sighting of this black hole blue light thing. And then at the end, the woman saying, it's something over Jerusalem. What could it be? And is he returned? And that's exactly how it can be done. The media has already manipulated us with this whole case with Zimmerman and Trayvon. They can do the same thing in order to bring about the idea that there is a second coming or an external threat happening on the world. Stuart Swerdlow is with us tonight on Ground Zero. What do you think of that?
I think that you're absolutely correct. And I think that people can expect even more intense events happening in the next few weeks. And you're right. It takes a very, very short time to change the world. And as you mentioned, 9/11, what were you thinking on September 10th, 2001, and then what happened on 2011, on September 11th? One day changed everything, the way people thought and perceived the world, and that can happen again very shortly.
And you can't convince them that anything happened in any other way except the way the media told them it happened. And the media, of course, has it all planned out. The whole dialogue is already written to be broadcast. Yep, the narrative is already planned. It's the template that you mentioned, Stuart, and I can promise you that we'll be seeing more of this happening, and we will be seeing more of this happening. Like you said, I mean, you have it down. We've talked about this before, you and I really do believe that the circumstantial evidence is leading us to this one thing where, they're saying it's hard to create a religion that's a mass religion. No, not hard at all. We already have people that have a mass hatred of terrorism, a mass hatred of a certain group of people, and all we need to do now is to have a massive spirituality based on protecting us against another phantom menace, which could be alien, which could be, you name it. It's just amazing how it can be done. Let's go now to Joe. Joe, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
How you doing, Clyde?
Good.
Hey, the thing about all this Trayvon and all this other stuff that's going around the world and how they're lying to peoples and everything, the problem is that they can't handle the truth. And the truth, I think, will separate everything away from the lie and everything. And like they revealed, NBC and ABC, how they turned everything around and how they and how they put everything together on the Trayvon stuff and all that stuff.
You know, they go in and they do the manipulation, and then they apologize, but people forget the apologies. They don't want to believe that it was manipulated. They want to stick by their own beliefs. That's the sad thing. It's hard to change minds now. Once minds are made up, you can't change those minds. We cannot change minds in the court of public opinion. People will have their opinions. I mean, you remember the show that I did about this the other day, and I said that Zimmerman did not say what they thought he said. And I had a guy call me, and he says, "No, Clyde, he said the word coon. That's what they say in Florida." And I guess I kind of rescinded my thought, and I said, "Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe they would have said it." But I don't know of anybody that age who uses that kind of archaic term to refer to a black person. And I said, I don't understand why he would use that term. And then they said that he said it was cold, like I said it was. And so I don't know. I just don't know what to do.
Well, the thing about this whole thing, Clyde, is this. I see the one thing you guys are not talking about, and you're not talking about the sons of God. The sons of God is going to come in and take over this whole thing. And this one world government ain't going to fly. Because you know what people in America, they like their freedom. And you try to change America right now, and you saw what happened to Smith and Wesson.
But do we have Joe? Do we have our freedom now? Do we have freedom now?
Yeah.
You think so?
Clyde, let me tell you something. Until they start taking our guns away, you're gonna have a problem because people ain't gonna give up their guns. Okay?
So that's all it is the gun thing. And then once our guns are gone, that's the end of freedom right there.
Well, no, it's not the end of freedom because it was told already. It was already prophesied that we was going to fight this one world order and we was going to run it off our land.
Have you read Romans? Joe, have you read the book of Romans? You read Romans?
Oh, yeah.
Romans says we don't fight against the New World Order.
Oh, we do.
Read Romans. Romans 13 says that we don't.
Okay, you go and read the book called The Light and the Glory, George Washington. It tells you right in there when the angel came down and gave strength unto the armies of the United States, we fought the enemy off our country and off this land. And we went back and took those that were taken prisoners over to the other countries, and we brought them all back home.
Let's hope those values stick, because I doubt they will.
Oh, they will. They will.
We've been gradually made to not care.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to tell you something, Clyde. We're going to probably lose a lot of people in this country, okay? But I'm going to tell you something. America will stand. And they will shine again.
Okay.
Because why? Because God has blessed us, okay?
Yeah.
And we are the only country that has blessing. And look at all the things that we have had. And God is still going to bless this country because of that vision called The Light and the Glory.
You better do it soon.
You ought to go back and read that, okay?
Better do it soon. I appreciate the call.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You bet, bye-bye. He better do it soon. If that's the case, he better do it soon because I'm looking around and I'm just seeing more and more people giving up. I'm seeing more and more people allowing these changes to take hold, even to harming them. They will harm themselves. It's just, and Stewart, you're seeing it too. You're seeing these people freaking out on planes. They're freaking out in neighborhoods. I think people are cracking under the abuse and trauma they've been given all this time, and maybe even the magnetic structure of the planet's changing. What do you think?
Well, yes, and not only that, we have to look at also the heavy ELF and microwave bombardment, not just of the U.S., but of the entire planet, and then add to that all the chemicals and preservatives they put in food, the forced medication that they're giving everybody. It just opens up everybody's mind to the programming and to accept it, and that's why people are freaking out. They get overloaded, they can't handle the download, and they start cracking up.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more apparent that this is happening. Let's go to Fred now. Fred calling in from Japan. Hi, Fred. Thank you for calling Ground Zero. You're on with Stewart Swerdlow. Go ahead.
Thanks, Clyde. Hey, I caught the radio program kind of late in the show here, but I had a quick question just for my clarification. What he's saying basically is he thinks there's going to be a movement by a world government or towards a world government or religion, and obviously this is going to have to be preceded by some type of event. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. They're going to stage a global event, just like they did at 9/11, to scare people into acquiescing and accepting the agenda of the Illuminati because they will not see any other way out.
Okay, and you're saying that you're thinking this is going to take place anywhere between, 2 to 6 weeks from now, give or take?
No, I think it's already in process, and I think the end result will be towards the end of this year. Of course, barring any sabotage or changes in plans, but the agenda is already well underway, and they pretty much have it in progress.
Okay. Well, here's my thought on the matter. Obviously, there's going to have to be some type of event that's going to focus the world attention, and it's going to have to be some type of event that will affect the entire planet. Now, a few weeks ago, I know Clyde has been talking about how we've been ramping up towards Iran, and how he had kind of predicted early on in this year that he thought we would be at war with Iran sometime in March or late April. Is that correct, Clyde?
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Okay. When you said that, I did some calculations based on some ships that I knew were moving, figured out exactly how long it was going to take them to get to the Gulf, and I figured that out, all open source type stuff, and I figured out that there would be some ships there probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, the idea of Iran was put into the public consciousness several weeks ago, or several months ago, actually, about this ramping up to go to war with them. And it was a big deal in the news, and then all of a sudden it was replaced by some other event.
Yeah, Trayvon Martin case.
Replaced by another, and then you got the Trayvon thing. So attention has been taken off of it. Now, militarily speaking, 2 weeks from now, 2 or 3 weeks from now, is a beautiful time for something to go down with Iran, because there's no moon, no moonlight, no illumination. So if you're going to launch an airstrike against them, that's the time to do it.
Well, and here's something I want to ask you, Fred. How are you guys holding up now where you are with what North Korea is doing?
It's changed quite a bit over here. I know that the military, as far as the Navy goes, they've kind of shifted to prepare for, some type of event. As far as that launch goes, Japan is also readied itself in the event that...
did you intercept? Did we intercept that rocket or no?
I don't know.
Because I heard that, I read somewhere that they're saying that that's an act of war. North Korea said something about an act of war if that satellite is intercepted. And I was just curious where you are and what you're doing, if you're okay. Because I know where you are and I know what you're doing, and I just want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, we're fine, and I haven't seen anything to indicate otherwise.
Okay.
I know that if we were to do that, obviously, one, I probably wouldn't know about it, but two, I wouldn't be able to talk about it. But
I understand. Yes, I know what you're saying.
Of that nature.
Okay.
But I'm looking, and thinking, Iran was taken off the public mindset. They do it again. That would be an ideal reason to have that focus, have that event occur. That's going to fling the world into some type of conflict over oil, obviously, because it controls so much of the world oil.
Right. And
that just opens up the world to, or just makes it vulnerable to those powers that be, Illuminati, or wherever your guest is speculating is going to do it.
Right.
Jump right in there and make it happen.
Hillary Clinton had harsh words for Syria, and Egypt fired a rocket at Israel. Those are two events that have not been reported because of the Trayvon Martin case. We have not been following anything worldwide because we've been all focused on our own affairs here at home. And it seems as very harsh words have been exchanged between our government and the governments in the Middle East. And what I'm seeing, and Stewart, and I've been saying this, and we know this, I'm seeing some definite changes in religion after Easter. There will be some religious changes, things going on in churches, and there's going to be some government changes in several governments, and possibly between April, I'd say 15th, I'm going to give it a window, April 15th, April 26th, we'll be seeing some definite movements on the war front. I would say that if it all goes the way it's supposed to, we will see more movements on the war front, and it's a gradual thing. It's not going to be abrupt. I mean, everybody's expecting everything to be on date and on time and on everything, but there's language to be given, language to be released, as Cliff High says, and I'm seeing it happening in that period of time. And you've calculated the boat movement, so we're pretty close. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay.
at least by my guesstimation.
All right, Fred. Well, you should know, and good luck to you out there, and I hope that there's no problem with North Korea.
Me too. Have a good day.
Thank you for calling. Take care.
Good night, Clyde.
You bet. Bye-bye. And that's Fred, of course, calling from Japan. He's in the Navy out there, and he keeps us abreast of what's going on out there. We're very grateful for him calling the program. We'll have more with Stuart Swerdlow coming up here on Ground Zero, and we'll get to all the phone calls and more thoughts from Stuart coming up. Don't go away right here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
This is not a test. It is the future. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Stuart Swerdlow, my guest tonight on Ground Zero. We're going to go to the calls again. Let's go to Susan. Susan, hi, you're on Ground Zero with Stuart Swerdlow. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde. Hello, Stuart. When I hear about all these dark plans, which I don't doubt that there are dark schemes and plans of the powers that be who I view as very low consciousness, what if what they're really going to trigger is a true spiritual awakening? Not a false one, not a coerced one, but a true spiritual awakening that actually does lead to a true and lasting peace on earth. And do we really need to fear that? Can we have hope? Do we have to succumb to the darkness?
It's not just darkness. Go ahead.
No, I agree with that, Susan. And you know what? If humanity releases their victimization mentality and no longer attracts tyrants and oppressors, then that's exactly what will happen. And we all need to take responsibility for what the events are on the earth, because each one of us is participating in one way or another by projecting out negative thoughts. So if we change the way we think and we change the way the world exists, yes, that's exactly what will happen.
I appreciate that so much, because I know that it's so easy to get caught up in the fear, and I know that's not your message, and that we really can shift the world in the right way, not the wrong way, and that we need to take control, like you say.
We learn from experience, so if the experience is a negative one, we may just become positive from it.
Well, you know, negative experiences are known to trigger very positive awakenings.
That's right.
So that's what I see. I see them setting up this crisis, and what if the surprising effect is they wake us all up?
Well, the surprising effect would be a backfire, and that would be victory for you and all those like you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you know, they may not think it's so bad after all.
I don't mean to sound. I hate it. I caught myself, Susan. I said, for people like you and all those like you.
I hear you, but what if it's time for the prodigal sons and daughters to come home?
Well, you know, Darth Vader got converted.
Yeah, what if home's not so bad after all, and that a real peace is actually a whole lot better than this false type of peace?
Praise you. Yes, that's true. I agree. I agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I agree, too.
Take care. Stuart, it was a great show. I'm glad you came back on the program. I'm glad you're still well. And damn, it's good to hear you again. Thank you for being on the program.
Well, thank you, Clyde. It's always a pleasure. You're a great host, and it's a great show. And I ask all of your listeners to go to expansions.com and read more about me.
Expansions.com, great website. Go to it. Expansions.com for Stuart Swerdlow. Read his books. Read about him. Fascinating man, and he's even better in person. We hope to get him to Portland sometime, and he can hang out and talk with you. He's very interesting to talk to and a very wonderful person. Thank you so much, Stuart.
Thank you, Clyde, very much. It's a pleasure.
You bet. Take care. Good night, everybody from Ground Zero. Be sure to check us out tomorrow night for Best of Ground Zero, and we'll see you again on Monday. Have a happy Easter. Find an egg or something.
FM News.